Trước khi bắt đầu, nếu bạn đang tìm kiếm sách để học IELTS hiệu quả, thì đây là những cuốn sách chúng mình khuyên dùng. Nó có thể giúp bạn đạt điểm IELTS từ 7.0 tới 8.0. Bạn hãy xem ở phần giỏ hàng trong kênh nhé.
Part 1. You will hear a phone call about feedback on a repaired assistive device.
Good afternoon. This is the Assistive Technology Center. Am I speaking to Lena Petrov?
Yes, speaking.
Thanks for taking the call. This is the short service feedback survey linked to your recent repair. It will take about 2 minutes and it is recorded for quality. If at any point you want me to slow down, just say so. First, I need to confirm some details on the record. Could you spell your surname for me?
Petrov. Petrov.
Great. And your client reference, the one that starts with letters?
Right, it is RQ5129. That is RQ, then 5129.
Thank you. Next, we sometimes send appointment reminders and care tips by text. Which language would you prefer for messages?
English, please. I can read another language, but English is easiest for me.
Noted. Just to confirm, messages in English, not Thai, correct?
Yes, English is fine.
Now, the item was recorded as a digital hearing aid, is that correct?
Yes, a digital hearing aid. It is the in-ear type, not the larger one behind the ear.
Fine. When you first contacted us, you described a fault. What was the main problem you noticed?
It was a buzzing noise. At first, I thought it was interference from my phone, but it happened even when the phone was off. The buzzing was not constant. It came and went.
Buzzing noise. And where did it happen most, left or right?
Mostly on the left, occasionally on the right, but the left side was the one that really bothered me.
Understood. After the repair was completed, how was the item returned to you?
By courier. I was going to collect it, but my shift changed, so you sent it.
Courier delivery. Can you confirm the amount you paid in total?
£76. I paid by card, and I kept the receipt.
76. Thank you. And how long did the repair take, from when you reported the fault to when you received it back?
4 days.
We also arrange a follow-up call 1 week later. Which day is best for you next week?
Thursday is best, ideally after lunchtime. Tuesday is impossible for me because of training.
Thursday. Finally, if you choose to leave an online review later, it takes about 30 seconds.
Part 2. You will hear a talk for new helpers at a zero-waste refill station.
Welcome, everyone, to Loop and Lather Refill. My name is Priya, and I supervise the weekday team. Today is an induction, so we will focus on safety, hygiene, and how customers move through the space. We are not here to give you a long lecture on environmental history. You can read that on the website. The reason I emphasize safety and customer flow is simple. If the flow breaks down, queues build, people get frustrated, and then mistakes happen at the scales and pumps. A note about containers, because this is where new helpers often feel unsure. Customers may bring their own containers, and many do, but some containers are not suitable. Thin plastic that flexes can slip on the scale, and it may also deform under the pump, which can cause drips. Jars with very narrow openings are awkward to fill, and they increase spillage. We do not ban glass, and we do not require labels on every container, but we do ask for something stable, washable, and easy to hold with one hand. Now, scheduling. You will not find a paper rota on a notice board. Shifts are managed through an app. You enter your availability and the supervisor confirms the slot. If you cannot make a shift, change it in the app, not by leaving a note on the counter. That way, we have a record and the team can see updates immediately. Before we move on to tasks, I want to flag 2 common causes of errors. The first is misreading the scale display. It is a small screen and it switches units, so check you are on grams, not ounces, and make sure the scale is zeroed before you begin. The second is confusing similar-looking liquids. 2 soap bases can look identical, and so can some cooking oils. Shelf labels and batch codes help, but your second glance is still vital, especially during busy periods. Tasks and the skills that help. Checking whether customer containers are safe to use relies on good organization. You follow a short checklist: cleanliness, lid condition, cracks, and stability. Do it quickly and do it the same way each time. Entering daily sales totals into the system depends on fast typing because you copy figures from the till report and the refill logs at closing time. Advising customers about allergies needs product knowledge. People ask about fragrance-free options, nut oils, and sensitive skin, so you must check ingredient sheets. Cleaning the pump area after a spill needs careful hygiene awareness. Wear gloves, wipe from the clean area outward, sanitize the nozzle, and log the cleanup. Preparing starter kits relies on basic arithmetic because each kit contains set quantities and you must count correctly. If a customer is unsure, offer a sample cup and explain how to read batch labels. If you remember only one thing from today, pause, check the label, and ask. 10 extra seconds beats wasting product or giving someone the wrong item.
Bạn đang nghe podcast miễn phí tại IELTS. Nếu bạn yêu quý kênh, hãy ủng hộ chúng mình ở phần mô tả nha.
Part 3. You will hear 2 students discussing how to agree on a coding scheme for a research project.
I was annoyed at the start, not because anyone was late, but because there was no agenda shared. I opened the calendar invite and it just said meeting, nothing else. People arrived expecting totally different things.
Same. I brought the sample comments, but I was the only one who did. And then we spent the first 10 minutes arguing about what we were supposed to decide.
Exactly. Still, once we got going, I think we made progress. Your point about the labels being subjective really landed.
They are. The labels sound sensible, but 2 coders can read the same message and disagree because the label depends on interpretation. Like when someone is being polite but actually refusing. Is that negative or is it neutral?
And when we tested the scheme on the sample set, we agreed more often, which surprised me. I thought testing would expose chaos.
It did expose problems, but it also showed patterns. We saw that disagreement clustered around a few labels, not everywhere.
That is why I said the tool is not the issue. Some people keep blaming the annotation platform. It is fine. The real issue is our guidance.
Guidance needs examples, not long essays, just short and realistic examples, like the kind of sentence we actually have in the dataset. If we use dramatic edge cases, we will train people to see extremes.
I agree. And we need a do not use list. We have labels that sound different but end up being used for the same thing, and then nobody knows what to pick.
Also, definitions should include what a label is not, like this label is for complaints but not for jokes, or not for requests.
That's useful, but we also have to keep it manageable. I suggested limiting the scheme mainly to reduce disagreement. We could have 20 labels, but we wouldn't use them consistently. 8 or 10 well-defined labels might be better.
I'm on board with fewer labels, but we need to protect participation. If some members are unpaid, they may drop out, and then we lose consistency. It's not just fairness, it affects the data.
True, I didn't think about that until you said it. If we end up with only the people who can afford to do extra hours, our sample of coders shrinks and drift gets worse.
Which brings us to drift. The supervisor mentioned coder drift like it's inevitable, but I think we can reduce it.
We can by double coding. We decided on a fixed sample every Friday, right?
Yes, but it has to be fixed, not random, so we can compare week to week. Otherwise, variation hides drift.
Good point. We should keep the same slice of data as a reference and then add a small new slice for training.
Also, we need to communicate results. If we double code and never discuss it, nothing changes. Someone suggested color coding inside the tool, but that feels cosmetic and it won't fix a vague definition.
Also, we considered adding a sarcasm label, yet that would increase subjectivity.
Better to tighten what we have and state clearly which labels not to use.
Then new coders can learn faster. So, decisions. 1, we write the do not use list for confusing labels. 2, we double code a fixed sample every Friday, then we meet for 15 minutes to compare.
Agreed. And we should put those decisions in the shared document today, not next week, or everyone will invent their own version again.
I'll draft the do not use list tonight.
I'll edit the examples so they are short.
Then we can send the agenda for the next meeting in advance. Part 4. You will hear a lecture about wildfire smoke chemistry and how to reduce indoor exposure. Today I want to explain wildfire smoke chemistry and why indoor exposure can remain high even when you stay inside. People often think smoke is simply ash and soot, but in reality a smoke plume behaves like a moving chemical reactor, changing as it travels. Let's start with outdoor chemistry. When smoke leaves the fire, it contains particles and a mix of gases. As the plume ages, it can produce secondary pollutants. These are not always emitted directly. They are formed through reactions in the air. A key driver of these reactions is strong sunlight. Sunlight provides energy that speeds up oxidation and helps create new compounds, some of which then condense onto existing particles. Now, health and particles. The size of the particles matters more than many people realize. Fine particles can reach the alveoli of the lungs, the deepest region where gas exchange occurs. Once there, they can trigger inflammation. Smoke also contains compounds that irritate the eyes and the throat, which is why people often report burning sensations, coughing, or a sore throat, even when the pollution level seems only moderate on a general air quality map. So how do we keep indoor air cleaner? Closing windows helps, but it is not a complete solution. Outdoor air enters through cracks, and it also enters through ventilation systems, including bathroom fans, kitchen extractors, and building intake vents. In many homes, the best short-term strategy is to create one clean room. Choose a room you can close off, ideally with fewer windows, and use a portable air purifier. Place it so it can circulate air freely, and keep the door closed as much as possible. If resources are limited, prioritize sleeping areas because exposure overnight is long and uninterrupted. You may have seen DIY fan and filter setups. These can be effective, but only if the filter fits tightly with minimal leakage. If air bypasses the filter around the edges, you will move a lot of air but remove far fewer fine particles. Use tape or a simple frame so the seal is close. Also, try to avoid creating extra indoor particles during smoke events. Frying food is a common source, as are candles and vacuuming with a poor filter. Even sweeping can resuspend dust, so choose gentler cleaning methods until the air improves. If you do need to cook, use a lid and keep heat lower where possible. This approach also scales to shared buildings. In schools and workplaces, a clean room plan can protect more vulnerable people without trying to treat an entire building at once. Another useful habit is to reduce door opening, because repeated door swings let smoky air rush in. Group errands and keep trips outside brief. Finally, measuring and guidance. Low-cost monitors are widely sold, and they can help you understand conditions in your own neighborhood, but they need regular accuracy checks. Sensors can drift with time, humidity, and dust loading. If you use them, compare occasionally with a reference station or follow the manufacturer guidance for calibration. Public alerts often refer to PM 2.5 because this size fraction is strongly linked to health outcomes and penetrates deeply into the lungs. However, PM 2.5 is not the only hazard, since ozone and other gases can rise too, and those are not captured by every home sensor. That is why official advice combines multiple indicators rather than relying on a single number. A practical tip is to watch the trend over time, because one spike might reflect an indoor activity rather than outdoor smoke. Long-term protection depends on buildings. The most effective approach is better sealing. That means controlling how much outdoor air enters, filtering it, and avoiding uncontrolled leakage. Improving seals around doors and windows, maintaining filters in HVAC systems, and designing for clean air rooms in public buildings all reduce exposure. It's not only a personal responsibility issue, it's also a design and policy issue. When you combine better building control with clear public messaging, you reduce exposure for the whole population, including people who cannot afford specialized equipment.
Bạn đang nghe podcast miễn phí tại IELTS. Nếu bạn yêu quý kênh, hãy ủng hộ chúng mình ở phần mô tả nha.